Good evening and welcome to the NAACP's April Community Conversation. This month's conversation is being co-sponsored in part by the Black Graduate Greek Council of Carbondale, otherwise known as the BGGC. I am Carl Flowers, president of the Carbondale Black Graduate Greek Council. In earlier community conversations sponsored by the NAACP, we've been fortunate to have Dr. John Jackson in February, who spoke on the 2020 census, and last month we had Dr. Linda Renee Baker, who spoke on the various voting rights history and the current issues and legislation affecting opportunities to vote. This evening's topic is the June 28th Illinois State primary elections. Our speaker this evening is Patricia Mayberry, who will share with you everything you need to know about the Tuesday, June 28th Illinois primary. Following Miss Mayberry's presentation, we'll have a Q&A opportunity for those of you who would like to ask follow-up questions. So if you have any questions, put those in the chat, and we have Robin Bryson who will be reviewing those and will be asking those at the end of Miss Mayberry's presentation. So without further ado, one more thing I need to mention is that this event is being hosted virtually by the Carbondale Public Library, and we thank them for that. So without further delay, let me introduce to some and present to others Ms. Patricia Mayberry.
Okay, thank you, Carl, for the wonderful introduction. My name is, as Carl said, Pat Mayberry, and I have put together information for the upcoming primary election on June 28th. And this information, it talks about, what is a primary election and then what are the different types. And then I'm going to move on to what the calendar is for the primary election. And I'm going to look at that in terms of voter registration, early voting, mail-in voting, and erasures, these dates. Those are the categories I'm going to look at the dates in. And then finally, we're going to look at the offices that will be voted on in the election and the candidates that are running for those offices. So that's a full plate of information. Hopefully, you'll find the answer to any questions you may have. Hopefully, you'll pick up some new information about this whole process. And we know that the purpose of the primary is kind of to narrow down the field of candidates that we will vote on the November 8th general election. And when we get to the part that deals with what offices will be open and the candidates that are running for them, you can see that we've got a very large field of offices. So I'm going to begin with the question of what is a primary election? And a primary election has two purposes. It's used to narrow down, as I said earlier, the field of candidates for the office, and it's to appoint delegates and alternates to the party conference. And so, I've been wondering about that with electoral college. Where do these people come from? And that might shed some light on it. So, and in order to move ahead to the general election, whoever the candidate is for the office, they have to win that election in order to move ahead. And so it will be candidates from the Republican Party versus candidates from the Democratic Party and some additional independent parties. So given that this is a primary election to narrow down the field of candidates for various offices at the federal, state, and local level, there are really two kinds of primaries. One is a partisan or a closed primary. And in that type of primary, the voters select a candidate to be the party's nominee for an office, but it's restricted to party members only to vote. It's not open to the general public. So the other type of primary is the open primary, which is open to the general public. You don't have to declare your party in order to get involved in the selection process. So in an open primary, you can vote for either for candidates of either party. You don't have to declare a party. And then there's the semi closed primary, which is a combination of both. You know, part of it is open to everybody, and part of it is closed to members of the party only. So those are your different types of primary elections. Here we have the open election, open primary election, in that you don't have to be a member of a party in order to get the ballot for that party. Okay. So I want to look at some dates now that you need to have marked on your calendar that might be of interest to you, depending on, you know, how you're going to go about participating in this election. And of course, you know, we want to talk about how important it is to participate in the election, because this is the only chance you get to select who you think best represents you in government. So I want to start with voter registration, because you can't vote unless you're registered. And so in voter registration, you have your in-person registration, you have your online registration, and you have your mail-in registration. So those are three different ways that you can register to vote. And registration is open now, and it will remain open until May 31st. And then at May 31st, the regular registration ends. It doesn't end for online registration until June 12th. So on June 12th, online registration ends. And at that point, the only place you can register online is through the State Board of Election website. And I've used that website for a lot of the information that's contained in this presentation. And I'll give you that website at the end of the program. Okay, so you have your in-person registration, your online registration. It's going on now, and it ends on May 31st. Regular registration ends on May 31st. So, you know, if you're not registered now, do get registered. If you have friends and you don't know whether they're registered or not, you know, you can also provide them with this information. There's also at the Jackson County, Illinois website, there is a way of checking to see whether you are currently a registered voter. So you may think you're a registered voter, but in some states, names have been taken off the rolls without people being notified. So there is a website that you can go to, provide basic information, name, address, birth date maybe. And then they will right there on the spot respond, telling you whether you are or are not a registered voter, or if there is a problem that you need to attend to with the county clerk. So that pretty much covers registration. And then comes the voting itself. And you can vote in person, or you can vote by mail. So now if you're going to vote in person, then the first day of voting in person is May 19th. This is for early voting, May 19th. The first day you can vote early, and it's at the county clerk's office or a location he is designated. So that's May 19th is the first day of early voting. The last day of early voting is June 27th. So you have a fairly good period in there. Now, the voting schedule has to be posted by May 9th at the county clerk's office or at the office of his designee. So that, and the location of the polling places, whether they're permanent or temporary, but the sites and the precincts that they serve, because sometimes polling places will serve more than one precinct. So the precincts that they serve and the dates and hours that they will be available, that information has to be put out by May 12th, beginning May 12th. And that will come out probably from Jackson County Clerk's office. And so that would be the Jackson County website for more information. In addition to early voting, and this is in-person voting, you have what's called grace period voting. And during the grace period voting, the person has to register and vote at the same time. Okay, because we've already closed registration on May 31st. So June 1st begins grace period registration and voting. So, and to register in person, you're going to need two forms of identification. One has to have the address that you are living at and that you're registered at for voting purposes for approximately 30 days prior to the election. You have to be there 30 days prior to the election. If you have moved, then you need to contact the county clerk's office and get that change made on your registration so that you can go to the correct polling place when you go to vote. Okay, so that's early registration, early voting, and grace voting, which includes registration. Now, for non-in-person registrations, you can register to vote by mail. I did this last year. And what you do is you get an application. It's at the website. You can print it out. You get an application for a mail-in ballot. You complete the application and you return it to the county clerk's office. And for us, that's Frank Bird over at the Jackson County Courthouse in Murfreesboro. So you complete the form and you get it back to him. You can mail it. I believe there's a drop-in ballot box on the west side of the courthouse that's used strictly for election material and stuff. You can take it in and hand it in. So you can mail it, you can drop it off, I think, I'm not positive about that, or you can take it inside and drop it off. And that's to apply for a mail-in ballot by mail. On May 19th, March 30th is the first day you can apply. So March 30th has passed and I have already filled out mine and sent it in. Like I said, the application form is at the website. You can print it out, fill it out, and drop it off whichever way is most convenient for you. You can mail it, you can drop it off in person, and I think you can put it in the ballot boxes on the west end of the courthouse. So that's for your mail-in voting. Now, what we don't hear a lot about Oh, mail-in voting begins March 30th, as I said, and it's passed. And it ends on June 23rd. And that's at the county clerk's office. That's the last day that you can apply for a mail-in ballot. And if you mail it, the last day that the county clerk can receive it is June 23rd. So again, mailing in an application so that you can vote by mail, you have to be a registered voter. If you're not a registered voter, you cannot vote by mail. So March 30th is the first day, and June 23rd is the last day that you can vote by mail-in. The last thing I want to talk about is erasures. From March 30th is the first day that, June 13th, 14th, and 14th are the last days that any voter or any precinct committee person can file an application to have a name removed from the voter's roll. It's called erasure. And it can be done by any voter or by the precinct committee person. It's an application that has to be filled out and submitted to the county clerk's office. And you can begin to file applications on the 13th and 14th, but then there will be hearings both at the county level and at the, if then process on, if not satisfied, to the election commission at the state level to make a final determination about the erasure. And sometimes it's bad information. Sometimes people have moved and no longer at the address. But at any rate, you should be notified if it's been an application to have your name removed from the roll, but stuff happens. So again, I would suggest that especially after June 23rd, which is when there's the final hearing at the state level, check the website at the county clerk's office, the website for his office, and make sure your name is on the voter registry. Now, if you get to the voting poll and there's a problem, you can still vote. It's called provisional voting. And you can vote, but you have to provide supplemental information by the end of the day. And the same with the grace period. If you went in to register grace period, maybe didn't have all your ID, or you needed another proof with your address on it, you have until that date to get that information in to the county office so that you can go on and vote. So those are some of the dates. And then of course we have the primary itself, which is on June 28th. And the polls will open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. So that is the day of the primary. It's the last day of grace period voting. So it's the last day you can register and vote at the same time on a primary day. It's the last day if you're doing mail-in voting to get that envelope postmarked with that date. Because if it comes after that date, if it gets postmarked after July 28th, it will not be counted. And then it's also the last day, July 28th, for any provisional voters, I've said, to get the additional information to the county clerk so they can verify and support the registration itself. So those are dates that you need to be aware of in terms of beginnings and endings of various voter activities for the primary. Now, all of this is repeated again at the general. The dates change, but the process remains the same. So that leaves the offices that are up for election in the primary and the candidates that are running for those offices at federal level, state level, county level, local. It's all these different categories all these different categories have positions that are going to be voted on. And did I say state? I don't think I said state. We have state offices too. But we're going to start with the federal offices, and you're going to be deciding who best represents you in the United States House of Representatives. This is what you get to say so. There are three candidates. One is the incumbent, Mike Boss, who is a Republican, but there are also two other candidates for the office of U.S. Representative, and they are Homer Chip Markle, who's a Democrat, and Joshua Quails, who is also a Democrat. So there are three people running for the U.S. House of Representatives position. Think about some of the things that have been going on in the House of Representatives. And then you decide of these three candidates, which one best represents you. That's your mission. Okay, that's the U.S. representative. Then we have a United States Senator position up. Now, this is a 4-year term. The representatives are 2-year terms. So this is the U.S. Senator, 4-year term. Currently, the incumbent is Tammy Duckworth. She's a Republican. And there are 8 additional candidates for this position. And they are all Republican. And their names, and I hope I get this correct, are Casey Chellebeck, Peggy Hubbard, Marianne Mayling, Robert Bobby Pitton, Jimmy Lee Tillman, Anthony W. Williams, Kathy Salvi, and Matthew Matt Dubell. So there are a total of 9 candidates that are running for a 4-year term as your U.S. Senator. Think of what's going on in the Senate, and think about who best represents your interest. And out of these 9 candidates at the primary, you get to select one. On the state level, there is the Illinois representative. Now, this is the representative that goes to Springfield, and this is the representative that works in the House of Representatives in terms of policy and law. And so our current incumbent representative is Paul Jacobs. He's the incumbent. And there's only one person running against him, I believe. Yep, one person running against him. And that's Aaron Robert Smith, and he is a Republican. So that is your U.S. representative, your U.S. senator, and your Illinois state representative. I don't have the Illinois state senator, who is Terry Bryant. I don't have any information on that office. However, I believe because of the census, and Carl, you can help me out with this, because of the census, they've had to redistrict. And in the process of redistricting, all of the positions in the Illinois Senate and the Illinois House are up for grabs. I could be wrong, but I believe that's what it said. So I do not know if they're all up for grabs. That would mean that Terry Bryant has to run again, and I don't know if there are any candidates running against her. I do not believe there were any that ran against her when she initially ran for the position of Illinois State Senator. Okay. So now I want to talk about state elections for the primary. And we have a number of positions that are up for election. This is a 4-year term also. So we're going to start with the governor and the lieutenant governor. And our incumbent governor and lieutenant governor are J.B. Pritzker and Juliana Stratton. Both are Democrats. In addition to them, there are an additional 8 sets of candidates for governor and lieutenant governor. 7 are Republican, 1 is Democrat, and then there's 1 candidate that is for governor only. So the The 7 Democrat candidates for governor and lieutenant governor who are Republican are Darren Bailey and Stephanie Trussell. That's one set that's running. These are all on the Republican ticket. Paul Schrumpf and Carolyn Schofield for governor and lieutenant governor. Richard Irving and Avery Bourne for governor and lieutenant governor. For Gary Rabin and Aaron Del Mar, governor and lieutenant governor. For Emily Johnson and Brett Marlene for governor and lieutenant governor. Max Solomon and Latasha H. Fields for governor and lieutenant governor. And then there's a sole candidate for governor, no lieutenant governor, and her name is Keisha Smith. And all of these candidates are for the Republican Party. The one set of candidates from the Democratic Party, in addition to Pritzker and Stratton, as Beverly Miles and Carla Shaw for lieutenant governor. Beverly Miles for governor and Carla Shaw for lieutenant governor. So there are quite a few candidates running for the office of governor in the primary, and we have to narrow it down to who best represents your interest and your positions to take that position. So you have to learn a little bit more about your candidates. That's governor and lieutenant governor. Under the state, the position attorney general, which is also a 4-year term, is up for re-election. There are a total of 4 candidates. The incumbent is Kwame Raoul. He is the current attorney general for the state of Illinois, and he's a Democrat. The 3 candidates that are challenging him for that position are all Republican, and their names are Stephen Kim, David Shistokas, and Thomas DeVore. Those are all candidates running for the for the attorney general position. Yeah, the state attorney general position, and it's a 4-year term. We also have at the state level the Secretary of State position. Now, that had been Jesse White for a number of years. And he has chosen not to run again. So the position is wide open. Now, his office, in addition to being the driver's license bureau of the state, he is also over elections. And so whoever takes this position as Secretary of State will have a lot to say about the elections, how it's run. And so that's a position that we need to pay close attention to for whoever's going to replace Jesse White. There are 7 candidates for the position. 3 are Republican, 4 are Democrat. The Republican candidates are Dan Brady, John Milheiser, and Michelle Turney. Those are the Republican candidates for Secretary of State. The Democratic candidates are Alexi Giannolius, David H. Moore, Anna M. Valencia, and Sidney Moore. Those are the 4 Democrat candidates. And I should note that Jesse White did endorse Anna Valencia. The next state office that's up for election is the state comptroller. It's another 4-year term. The incumbent is Susana Mendoza, and she is being challenged by 2 candidates, Shannon Teresi and Michael Kinney. And both of those candidates are for the Republican Party. Then we have the state treasurer, which is a 4-year term. And the incumbent in the office is Michael W. Freirich, and he's being challenged by, and he's a Democrat, and he's being challenged by 2 Republican candidates, Tom Dimmer and Patrice McDermott. Now, there's another position. I'm not quite sure about all of the ins and outs of this, because this is the first time I've run across it. It's the State Central Committeeman. State Central Committeeman. And I suppose there's one for each party, but the incumbent and the only one listed at this time is Glenn Pritchard for that position. Okay. Now, that is the federal and the state. And the next layer is the county. And within the county, the Jackson County Board, there are the 6th district is up for re-election. And the 6th district includes the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 25th, and 26th precincts. Okay. Currently, it's Scott Comparado and Liz Hunter, and I don't see anyone else at this point running for those offices. And then there is Carbondale Elementary School Board, and there are going to be 3 terms, 3 positions up for election, and they are currently being held by John Majors, Angela Waters, and Carly Coplia. Those are the 3 people that are on the board, and their term is expiring. So I don't see any other candidates running at this time, but those are the people whose positions will be up for reelection. So that is pretty much, I think, everything I have for the elected portion and of state offices and federal offices. But somewhere I also have information on the judicial offices for the Fifth Appellate Court and the First District Court. So I may run across it eventually. I don't seem to have it right here in front of me. But they will be on the ballot for the Fifth District, I think they call it, I forget what they call it, but it's the Fifth District and it's the Appellate Court and the First District and it is the Circuit Court. So those are the dates that are of importance for the primary election. Those are the positions and the candidates that are running for those offices. Oh, did I say city council? There are 3 positions that are up for reelection in city council. Adam Lewis, Tony Grant, and Lee Fronabarger. Their offices, their terms are up, so those offices are going to be up for election. And if there are some additional candidates, I haven't found them yet. So hopefully you have more information than you had when we started this presentation, and I look forward to answering any questions that you may have that I may have the answer to. And if I don't have the answer, I can probably tell you where you can get it. So with that, I don't know where we go.
Well, Pat, there are some not actually questions, but statements in the chat.
Okay.
There is someone discussed that the U.S. Senate is a 6-year term, not a 4-year term, and that Senator Duckworth
That's correct.
and Senator Duckworth is a Democrat.
Yes, very much.
And that Terry Bryant will no longer be in our district after November.
Okay, this is from the redistricting with the census.
Yeah. He will not represent Carbondale after November, but Dave Fowler will.
Dave Fowler will, okay. He's, I believe, 115, District 115. So I'll have to look and see what other candidates are running against him. Thank you.
No, both of them are running unopposed.
Okay, okay. And his political party, Dave Fowler? Do you know?
I thought he was a Republican.
I would think so, but I'm not sure. That's what I was asking.
And let's see.
Republican, yeah.
And we have a comment here from Van Eichner. He said he's running for Democratic candidate for the office of the state representative in District 118. He's going to be a write-in candidate.
Okay.
On this primary election cycle.
Yeah, let me say that the information that I have for the candidates, the offices and the candidates are from the Illinois State Board of Elections, and it's from their unofficial list. The official list won't be out for a few more days because they have to be cleared through Springfield. The list of candidates have to be verified at Springfield and then brought back here to the county office. And then once it's verified here, then they will post probably a sample ballot with the listing of all of the positions and all the people that are running for them, write-in, independent parties. So, yes.
Okay, so also in the thing it says Dale Fowler is District 59, and Terry Bryan is 58. So
Yeah,
we do have,
Terry's 58,
and Dale Fowler is 59.
59, okay.
And we do have a question in the question. What would you say to people who don't vote, who say I don't vote and don't get involved in politics?
Well, I would talk to them about things that they're interested in and whether those things they feel are being adequately reflected. And if they are not, then I would encourage them to add their voice to the decision making in terms of who will represent them. People have a bunch of different reasons for not voting. But I don't think we stress, that each one of them has some say-so in who's selected to represent them. And it's important, that they make their voice known. And I would hound them. I would help them register to vote online. Give me your phone. We can work our way through this. Do you need a ride, to the poll? I would do all I can to encourage them and continuously remind them of their responsibility.
So, yeah. Pat, what would you, can you talk a little bit about how do you register to vote? How difficult is it to vote, to register to vote, first of all, and then on election day itself? You've talked about the opportunities for early voting, for mail-in voting and things.
Mm-hmm.
Are there specific things you want to mention about where people go to vote, how they find out as where they can vote at and things like that?
Sure. Okay. The first thing, registering to vote. There's some interesting to anybody who is 18 years of age, who is a born citizen or a naturalized citizen, and who has lived in this state for more than 30 days is eligible to vote. So give a person also someone who is 17 but will be 18 by November 8th of the general election, they can vote. Someone who is homeless, who has no permanent address, can vote if they can show that they have mail that's sent to Salvation Army here or any of the missions that they have set up to help the homeless, but they can vote. Felons in Illinois can vote if they have served their time and completed their parole successfully, then they can also vote. So those are who can vote. The process, again, you can vote by mail. You can go online. There's an application form. You can fill it out and send it in. You will probably have to send in copies of 2 forms of identification. It's really important that you have those 2 forms of identification for purposes of registering to vote. It used to be one was the picture ID and then one was the address, and they don't push a lot the picture ID, but if you have a driver's license, a school ID for our college students, those are helpful, but not mandatory, but you do have to have something that has address of mail sent to you at the address that you're registered at. in order to register to vote. So those are the things you need to have with you. What you need in order to be eligible to vote, and what kind of information you need to have with you when you go to register to vote. You can register in person. You can go to the county courthouse. There are, I believe, over 200 voter registrars. I'm one. A voter registrar can register you to vote if they have the forms with them, but you still need to present, 2 forms of ID, one with the address of where you're registering to vote at, that shows you've been there for 30 days. Is there anything else about registration? Carl? Is there anything else about registration? You're muted.
I think you covered it. Thank you for coming.
Okay, what was part 2, the second question?
Yes, the other part was people may not know where to go vote on the primary day. How can a person find out as where their precinct is and things like that?
Okay. Let me see. The precinct is on your voter registration card if you happen to know where your voter registration card is. And if you don't know where your voter registration card is, the Jackson County website has a link in their voter and election menu, but they have a link in there to where you can get the information of what precinct you're in. And if you know where you vote, that might help find out which precinct you're in, because if you vote like at Irma Hayes, then you're in the 4th or the 5th precinct. And if you vote at Jackson County Community Center, then you're in, I think that's the 5th, and Irma Hayes is the 4th. If you know where you're supposed to go to vote, then you can figure out which precinct you're in by going to the list of precincts that are on the Jackson County website. There will be a notice posted. It's a date for it in the calendar that the county clerk has to post a listing of the locations of the temporary and the permanent polling places. They have to list the counties, not the counties. They have to list the dates that this will be available and the time. So they have to post this with this polling information. But you can also go to the county website and go to the voter election list of information. And one of them is, what is my polling place? And provide them with the information that they need, like your address and your name, and they can provide you with your polling place.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Robin, with any other comments or
Yes, there were
questions?
We've got, they want to let you know that the Jackson County ballot boxes are at the Carbondale Police Station and the Murfreesboro Courthouse. Okay. And the questions in the chat are, do you know if the ballot drop-off boxes in Carbondale and Murfreesboro will be available for the primary election?
They have not said yet whether it was going to be there. I know that when I have spoken with the county clerk, Larry Bird, he's been very interested in maintaining a ballot box there on the west end, ballot mailbox at the west side of the courthouse. But they have to make a decision about it. And again, there is a cutoff date that they have to make their decision about it by. So I can't say right now, but the information is coming.
And also, do you know if people in Jackson County Jail who have not been convicted of a crime yet can vote?
If they have not been convicted of a crime, they should be able to vote. If they've been convicted of a crime, then they cannot vote. Not until they are finished, serving their term and successfully complete parole. But if they are in jail, if they have not yet been convicted, then they can vote. Yep.
I don't think, oh, what? Here's another question.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to share the number for Frank Bird, Jackson County Clerk at 618-687-7360.
Very good. And thank you for that information. The more information, the better. But also, I would strongly suggest that you go on the state website, which is, you could just Google State Board of Elections, and it'll take you right there. I think it's www.elections.illinoisil.gov. I think that's it. I'm not positive. But if you just Google Illinois State Board of Elections, it'll come right up. There's a wealth of information there. You just need to scroll through it and browse through it. That's where I get my calendars from. That's where I get most of the information I need for the election on the state and national level from that website. Then there's the Jackson County website, which also goes with Frank Bird, and that is, I believe, www.Jackson County, which is one word, .illinois.gov.
Jennifer put from the public library, she put both websites on in the chat.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Both of them have a wealth of information about the elections, the election process. Any question you have, there's an answer there for it. And so it's just a matter of, going around and browsing through it and seeing what's of interest to you and what information is necessary for you.
All right, if there are no further questions, I will say thank you, Pat, for the very important information that you have shared here this evening, helping us to understand how to vote, including early voting, mail-in voting, and the importance of actually voting in the June 28th primary. The information that you've shared on the candidates at the state and federal level is important. It's important because everyone needs to, in my opinion, to actually participate in the electoral process of our candidates. I just need to mention also that given the fact that this community conversation was co-sponsored by the BGGC. Pat Mayberry is a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, and she is also the political action chair for the Carbondale NAACP. Also, thank you to Robin, who's been handling the information in the chat and the Q&A. She's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and all three of us are members of the Black Graduate Greek Council of Carbondale, and are members of the Divine Nine organizations. As we wrap up this evening, I want to thank all of our panelists. I want to thank our want to thank our attendees as well, and to let you know that our May community conversation will be, will be held on May 17th, and our presenter will be Dr. Randy Burnside, a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, and Dr. Burnside's topic will be the important issues in the June primary.
Okay.
No further comments. I'd like to again thank everyone for being here this evening, and we look forward to your joining us next month for the May community conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.